co-host Marlon Parker. We're going to talk about some of the activities that have happened in the last 30 days in the sport of boxing. More specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about the Claressa Shields fight, a lot of controversy regarding the Haney Lomo fight, and a few other topics. But first off, Marlon, what you got, man? What was your take on that Haney results? Because there was some back and forth regarding the fight. I know who you had picked. I know who I had picked, but tell me about what you thought.
Haney won the fight. I gave the last going in when I was watching the fight. I said if Loma loses this last round, he won't get the decision. The cards were two of the cards were close, and had Loma won that round, he would have won the fight. So I thought he was a good showing, but Haney had won too many of the early rounds for Loma to kind of get over that hump. And interesting enough, Loma at one point was so close to putting Haney on the deck, it would have changed the fight.
I don't know that point, but okay.
At one point, it seemed like Haney was about to go.
What round was it? When did this stuff happen, man?
It probably was ninth round. Like, come on, this side.
I remember that barrage of like at least 9 out of the 10 punches missed. But
no. When the lefts kept landing and Haney was unsure on his feet.
He was unsure on his feet.
He looked unsteady. Yeah, he looked unsteady.
I think you guys can. Okay. I guess this is one of those fights.
Let's talk about it. Let's
talk about it. This is one of those fights where if you can look at it a certain way, then it was in your head what it was. It was close enough of a fight that if you thought Loma won the fight, then that's what you saw. But if you thought Haney won the fight, then that too is what you saw. In my opinion, I even though I had a prediction that Haney would win the fight. All right, full disclosure. But I can also look at it from a neutral perspective, and I still saw Haney as winning the fight. We hear a lot of arguments, and I'm sure Marlon's gonna give you his take on why he thought. Matter of fact, you know what, Marlon? Why did you think Lomo? I know you said you thought Haney. You said
Lomachenko. Haney won the early rounds, most of all the early rounds. Then Lomachenko late in the fight took over just about all the late rounds. The last round left everything in limbo. There were a couple of rounds that could have cut either way. And what you had was Lomachenko, Haney was doing a masterful job of boxing, but Lomachenko would get into these exchanges where he would kind of turn it on. And at one point, it seemed as if he had Haney's number, but to Haney's credit, in the 12th round, he came back and he did enough. He clearly won that round. So, but going back to it, I knew that Haney would win the fight. And some people call for Loma to win the fight. I said, no, he won't win a decision. And unless he puts Haney on the deck, nothing's going to change. It was a great fight. He thought he won. There's a lot of people thought he won. I did not think he won. You didn't think he won. It's not a lot to debate because you need to remain neutral, and boxing well enough to know exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah, no robbery here. Nobody got robbed, ladies and gentlemen. It's not to me whether you believe if anybody got robbed. If you really look historically at the sport of boxing, a lot of these, does it have some crappy, controversial decisions in its past? Absolutely. Is this one of them? No. I think a more egregious robbery was the Mildred Taylor. I think another one I thought that was more egregious than this was when Alvarez when he fought Lara. I thought Lara won that fight. But in this fight, you have to understand the age-old adage from boxing is that in order to take the belt, you got to beat the champion. I saw him winning rounds, absolutely. I saw close rounds, absolutely. Did I see him beat the champion? No. It made sense in a close fight for the judges to give the nod to the reigning champion. And this is only if he had one belt. We're talking about the youngest undisputed champion. He had 4 belts, for crying out loud. And he fought his butt off for those belts. He went in foreign land and hostile territory. And he faced Kambosos, who defeated Teofimo Lopez, and he took the straps. And then he did it again. It was so nice he did it twice. And so now he's facing yet another top, and most people would say elite, contenders. And they both fought well. They both represented themselves well, but at the end of the day, like I said, close fights don't always win championships. Close fights win fights. If it's just no belt on the line, close fights even get draws. But would I have been happy if it was a draw? Yep. I would have been ecstatic if it was a draw. I would feel like that was closer to that was been close to. But I'm not mad if Haney won, because when I look at fights, I look at effective aggression, ring generalship. He was throwing and variety. He was throwing body shots. Their body shots.
That's what
they were effective.
The body shots are what were scoring.
Yes, they were effective.
I don't know why Loma refused to commit to the body.
Yeah, well,
maybe because he's a shorter, smaller guy, but no, he should have been.
Flashy punches. The crowd was reacting to it. Like I said, if you turn the volume down and you really just watch the fight, like a lot of people say, you'll see that whoever you saw that as Lomo just like doing a wipeout, you'll probably see it differently.
Now, I don't agree with that. You have to beat the champion. Look, boxing should be scored. Everything should be impartial. And you shouldn't have to have a certain percentage. It should be, hey, you 51% to 49 should get you around. It shouldn't be, well, he's the champ, you should beat him. It's 60%. No, 51 to 49. If you do enough to barely skate by in a round, you should beat the champion round. There's a certain amount of reps.
It's subjective. The sport is subjective. What is it if you did enough? I mean, I thought he did enough, but you didn't. So who's right?
I didn't say.
I'm just saying hypothetically. And here.
But people say that, and they say, well, he didn't do enough to take it from the champ. And I've seen enough fights where I disagree. Like, he won the round. What more do you need? Do you need him to put the champ on his butt? Sometimes you can't do that.
That'd be nice.
No, but you shouldn't be at that sort of disadvantage.
No.
Coming against someone with a belt.
No.
If you have a good night, you should be rewarded for that good night. But often the time in boxing, one isn't. And it goes back to that saying, you have to take the belt from the champ.
Yeah, you got to take the belt, man.
No, take the belt just means even if you edge it out.
Yeah.
I don't need to be
decisively.
I don't. It doesn't have to be anything.
As long as it has an L-E-Y.
No matter how minute, if you're just a smidge better than the champ, you should walk away with the belts that night.
Yeah. I
just don't agree that someone has to shellac, mollywop the champ, and then then you get.
I never said that. Shellac, mollywop, none of them came out.
No, you didn't say it, but I was gonna put it on you anyway.
You have to convincingly beat the champion, and it wasn't a convincing defeat. It was a very spirited fight, and both fighters rose to the occasion. But again, when they both raised, a draw is okay. But at the end of the day, the cards. I don't think anybody whose hand was raised that night should be criticized for their performance. They both fought hard, and the judges saw it with the body shots. Body shots are important. We have the pros. I heard one guy tell me one time, well, body shots don't mean anything. That's bull. In the amateurs, they may not give those body shots as much credibility, but in the pros, they definitely mean something. You start getting into the late rounds, those body shots accumulate, and I think in Haney's case, those body shots ultimately would kind of saved him in the 12th round because being hit with those body shots, and he also took a page from Kambosos' book with Lomachenko, where he it was a jab uppercut. It was a jab uppercut right to the body. It wasn't an uppercut.
You didn't Kambosos.
I mean Kambosos. Yeah. What did I say?
You said Kambosos with Lomachenko.
You mean with Tio? He took a page from that method of attack where with Tio when he fought no that was correct. No, when Tio fought Lomo.
Okay. Yeah.
When Tio fought Lomo, I think I said Kambosos.
Yeah.
So when Tio fought Lomo, he did the jab uppercut attack. It was very effective. It was jab, and then right back with the uppercut. Caught him. It was more of a timing punch. He was doing a lot of damage with it. Haney took that same exact combination, that jab and that uppercut, followed by uppercut, but he took it, but he did it to the body. He did because he knew Lomo's very first reaction would be to slip off from an angle and go spin off from left to the right, but he measured the shots and he was able to find them with those uppercuts to the body. So that was that. That's what I thought. Doesn't have to be long, but we all know what happened.
Look, I won't be the dead horse. So we both agree. Haney won. And regardless of the controversy, Haney walked away with the belts and he deserved them that night. He was the better fighter.
Yeah.
Moving on to Claressa Shields versus Marcela Cornejo.
Yeah.
One-sided fight. One-sided fight. And Claressa Shields, again, is showing why she's the best. She's the best right now, the best female boxer out there. I mean, I don't know what you can take away from it. What Cornejo took the fight, what was it, 2 months notice? It was short notice.
Yeah.
It was short notice. To her credit, she was game. I don't have her winning the round. I don't ever win a single round.
Yeah, when I tuned in, it was getting brutal. The aggression of Claressa, and she really turned it up rounds 8 to 12, with a lot of fakes. Sometimes she set up shots. It was a lot of reaching, a lot of lunging, but she kind of did what she had to do because she didn't invest in the body. I think if she had started early with body shots with her opponent, I think she would have been able to. She did land headshots, but I think she would have landed more flushly. They would have had more of a devastating impact had she had just slowed her down just a step or two by going to the body. If it's a fifth, don't. We don't know.
It's levels, as we always say, and she was out of her depth. Cornejo was a game fighter, but she was clearly out of her depth.
Okay.
And it showed. And hats off to Claressa Shields again. Makes this a lot more challenging to pull something out of it, because we say this all the time when we're talking back and forth. You feel like Roy Jones Jr. It's not that Cornejo is a bad fighter. It's just that Claressa Shields is so impressive, makes this fighter look bad.
Mm-hmm.
And Roy in his prime made a lot of really good fighters look bad.
He did.
And but when you look back upon reflection now, you're like, no, the person was actually really good. They just met a buzzsaw at one point. And he destroyed him on that night, and Claressa Shields, I thought, just worked her the whole night. Really, that could have been a 20-rounder, and the result would have been the same. She would have won every single round.
Yeah, she was just going backwards the whole fight. It's just like she was just trying to get away from Clarissa during the fight, and it was like, at what point are you gonna start making it look like you're the top dog and just let your hands go? She did have moments where
She was
tried
game.
to throw.
Look, she didn't lay down.
She didn't lay down.
She was just outclassed.
Yeah.
A top fighter. She was in there. I don't know if she was. In no moment in the fight did I start to believe she was starstruck or she was, she had checked out. It's just at that point in her career, they're on two different, they're moving in totally, they're on different planes. And there was no way she was going to catch her with her shots. One, she was keeping her hands low too, and she was opening herself up for certain shots by keeping her hands low.
Uh-huh.
And Shields took advantage of it. I don't know why they didn't make the adjustment and she didn't lift her hands, but Conejo didn't, and she paid for it. And she paid for round after round after round.
Yeah. So what's next for Clarissa? What do you think?
Clarissa, I don't know. Who do you want to see her fight?
You already know who I want to see her fight.
Say the name.
Shadasia Green.
All right. Shadasia Green, I don't know where that goes because right now Cruz DeZern fights Savannah Marshall.
Right.
And I don't know, does Shadasia Green get the winner of that fight?
They should do an elimination tournament. Like, we can't wait so long for these fights to happen. These young ladies are in the the peak of their talent, and they're willing to actually fight more than some of the guys now. So a lot of the guys now. So
they're really good fights. Really good fights.
We should constantly as fans try to push the envelope, maybe demand these fights because you want to see good fighters interacting.
Over the last year and a half, maybe even 3 years, the quality of the aired events regarding women's boxing has a lot of times exceeded, on average, the quality of the cards for events that have been headlined by men. I mean, some of the women's cards have been impressive. With the women headline, the events have been impressive, and just some of the women's bouts. I mean, you've had a couple of co-mains in the last couple of years.
Yep.
Impressive. Not just to say it, just to throw it out. Not just saying something that I don't truly mean. Really impressive. We've had conversations about this, how you can see the progression of women's boxing. Men, do I think it will overtake men's boxing? No, but has it made strides in the last few years? Yes, markedly. I mean, it's remarkable how much it's progressed, and a lot of that falls on Clarissa Shields. Let's be honest. She's the biggest name in women's boxing. You have other fighters that are good. You have Savannah Marshall. You have Michaela Meyer. You have Cruz DeZern. You have the other young lady who she has like 3 belts. Her name escapes me. She has the endorsement. She does the sandals, that Ufus or whatever the shoes. Yeah. She's really good. You have, who else do you have? Marlon Esparza.
Yep.
There are quite a few names. You can just start when they just come to your head. These are really impressive fighters, and again, I'm excited. And I'm entertained, and I would support a woman's card.
Yeah, all women's card. I wouldn't mind.
But now we've got something that's coming up next weekend.
Are we talking about the Josh Taylor fight?
I'm calling Taylor.
Josh and Tio.
I'm calling Taylor. I'm calling Josh Taylor. Now, Josh Taylor didn't look great when he fought Kettleraw last.
Okay.
But the stakes are higher.
Yeah.
The stakes are higher. And I'm looking for Josh Taylor to reemerge, the same Josh Taylor that I saw pick apart Regis Prograis.
Yeah.
And that was probably that was an impressive performance.
Yeah.
And my hats off, Teofimo Lopez. He didn't look impressive in his last fight, which was
no. He was even questioning himself.
Yeah.
During the fight, Tio, and then he's kind of unstable. Like he's been kind of raging.
I don't know. There's been some things or some comments made about maybe racial. I'm not sure. I don't. Yeah. It's he's like a lot of fighters. Sometimes he's in the news for all the wrong things.
Yep.
But is he talented? Yes, he is talented. Will it be a good fight? Yes. I mean, he moved up in weight, and weight was a problem. Obviously, he's a big guy. I mean, he's a big guy. He fills out. Look at Haney. Yeah, Haney fills out. I mean, these guys are actually filling out. And but Josh Taylor, he has what it takes if he just doesn't take it for granted. I mean, he didn't look good at versus Catterall. He didn't look good at all versus Catterall. And some people even suggested, he shouldn't have won that fight. Yeah. But Josh Taylor is a really, really extremely good fighter. Extremely good. That's horrible choice of words. But,
considering the source.
Okay. But, yeah, I like Taylor. I like him for this fight. Mm-hmm. Will he win a decision versus Teofimo Lopez? I don't know.
I think so. He has the equity as far as being a champion. I think he has more clout than Tio. So, and then being a champion really defines you because it pulls more out of you than you were probably willing to offer, because it brings a lot of the media, the ire of the media on you, and you have to kind of conduct yourself that way. Tio seems to be in kind of a place of discovery right now. He's not sure of himself, and he's not sure of what direction he wants to go as far as the rest of his career.
Well, a win Saturday night will wipe all that out and stuff, But
we think.
You think.
We think.
Well, yeah. Again, Josh Taylor is. He's right there. He's right there. That's why it was so. I don't know if his stock had been diminished. It was so disappointing in that last outing because you should have seen a better fighter. But he says he's reinvigorated. He's not playing the games. They're not even in this. He left out of the press conference.
Okay.
Because he didn't want to get into exchange with Teofimo Lopez.
Okay.
He's focused, so we'll see.
All right.
But there's another guy. You're hanging around at 140. It's Tank floats. He can float into 140. Yeah. And does the winner of this fight? What do they do? What is the winner of this fight? What's next for him?
Yeah.
Because
I think we come up with all kinds of
between 135 and 147. Between 135 and 147, there's so many possible matchups, and you have guys that can freely go from 135 to 147, back down to 140, come back. They can play around. Yeah. They're young enough where they can make the weight.
Yeah. And it's not a big deal. So.
It's a lot of fights to be had. Will we see them? Probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
okay.
We got so far downfield. My predictions: Taylor, 10th round stoppage. 10th round. He stops him in the 10th.
I have to say ninth because I don't want to agree with you.
Oh.
So ninth round, Taylor. I still agree with Taylor though.
Okay.
So yeah, fans, look, hey, please stay tuned. Look forward to seeing who you think is going to win this fight. Like I said in the past interviews, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. This is ASAP Boxing. Any last words, Mark?
Just that I'm always right.
Please, never. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.